Hello and welcome to pdfsupply.com. Today we're going to be testing an IC694MDL655. This is an RX3i 32-point digital input module, 24 volt DC, positive or negative logic. Okay, this video is basically just going to be a test of those inputs, some troubleshooting, and how to configure it with Proficy Machine Edition. So, the first thing is I have this in an IC695 CHS007 7-slot rack. It's being powered by an IC695 PSA040 power supply. And the processor I'm using is an IC695 CPE330. Okay. Another brief thing is that you'll notice that there's these two connection points here for cables. And you would need the cables for the tests, and I'm going to give you the numbers on those. The first one is an IC693CBL329, and the second one is an IC693CBL330. They're two different cables so that they're associated properly left and right. They're actually sort of keyed a certain way so that they fit in. There is one for the right, there is one for the left. So make sure that you guys understand that before you purchase anything. The next thing is I have the other end of the cables, which I'll show you right now, connected to an IC693 ACC337. Okay, this is there's one end that my cable goes into, and then there's another end where I have terminal wiring. So I can do some physical actual wiring here. And what I've done is, you can see these leads go to my power supply, positive and negative. I'm using my negative cable from the power supply as my common, and I've jumped it between 10 and 15. And the rest of the jumpers I've jumped to all the input terminals, and I've added my positive power supply lead to all the inputs. And the point I'm trying to make here is that this simplifies the test greatly. It means when I turn on my power supply, I'm able to test all 16 inputs on each cable at a time just by flicking one switch. Now, if for some reason you want to do it another way, you can always connect your common wire between 10 and 15, jump it from 10 to 15, and you can probe all the inputs. Although that takes a lot longer time. So this is the way I do it. It saves a lot of time. And I have two power supplies going in this particular instance for this test, and two terminals, okay? Just like the one that I just showed you. So once you do have all that set up, the next thing that you're going to want to do is to go into Proficy Machine Edition. And I've established a new blank file featuring all the hardware I mentioned before. My power supply is using slots 0 and 1, and my CPE using slots 2 and 3, which leaves me with slot number 4 available where I can add module. And we want to pick an IC694 MDL655 32-point input. And it shows us that a beginning reference address is 81 and that the length is 32 points total. Okay, so that's correct. So what we'll do is connect up using the lightning bolt icon and hit the green handprint to toggle to online mode. Now pay attention down below, because your status bar will continue to change as you connect up and you get into programmer mode. So our status is we're in programmer mode. It's stop disabled, meaning the processor is not in run mode and that the inputs and outputs are disabled. The configuration and logic are currently not equal. That means that the processor was doing something different before we've asked it to test this MDL655. So in that event, we're going to go to Target, Online Commands, Clear, and we're going to clear any controller and I/O fault table. Yes, that'll keep us from getting hung up when we do download and run, so we'll go do that right now. Download and start active target. We want to put hardware configuration in motion and logic Now there's no need to write anything to permanent flash memory or these initial force values, so we'll set it OK. This is just a simple test on a discrete input, and we'll enable the outputs. Now at this point, you should be, your status should be programmer run mode, inputs and outputs enabled, configuration and logic equal. If for some reason you guys are having a problem, you're not reading the same thing here, check your feedback zone, make sure that there's no errors that it's describing. If you can't find anything there and you're still not in run mode, you can go to target, to diagnostics, and your info viewer screen will turn into a fault table viewer. Okay, and also always check the inside of the CPU's door or CPU, whatever you're using for a processor, and make sure that you have your button all the way to the right, so it suggests that the run and inputs and outputs should be enabled. Okay, now before I actually start this test, I want to give you guys a quick reference about the wiring diagram. Can be found on GE Intelligent platforms. I'm going to give you one good example. If you go and enter in under GE IP support, GFK0898F. Okay, so it's GFK-0898F. And this is the wiring diagram that shows exactly what pin goes to what input number, what common, and where the power should be connected for this particular module. Okay, that's very helpful. And the other thing is you can also look up the IC693ACC337, which will also help you guys with your wiring. If you guys want to simplify your wiring to the same system that I'm using, you're going to need to find these diagrams. So make sure that you do that. Now, we're in run mode. This is the easy part. We can go to our default tables and expand on that. Go to input. And here's our reference table. Now, it mentioned before, we'll take a second look at this, that we're looking for input 000081, and that's where it's going to begin. So that's right here. I'm just going to put my my box around that so you guys can see, and you can see that we're starting with 81 up here, and I'm going to turn on my inputs, my 24-volt power supplies one at a time. Okay, now here's my top 16. Now, not only should you see on the module all 16 LEDs light up for channels 1 through 16, but you should also see it, of course, in your input table, most importantly. All right, so I have that here. All 16 are lit up as they should be. And then I'm going to plug in my second power supply, all right, and my other 16, or channels 17 through 32 light up. They light up both on the module and in Proficy Machine Edition input table under the proper address. So what I usually look for here, if it's a module that you think could have a problem, is I look to make sure a few things. I make sure that all the LEDs are lit up, if you have it wired the way I do, on the MDL itself. So there shouldn't be any of the inputs that are off. And I also cross-reference that with Proficy Machine Edition to make sure that all 32 channels are on, that there's no zeros, or it's not reporting any zeros. And of course, that the MDL is able to report to the backplane through the processor to Proficy Machine Edition. It's detecting input energy, and it's reporting it on the input viewer screen here. Okay, so if you did see any zeros, or if there were no inputs on when there should be inputs on, you know, any of those things could be a problem. IC694MDL655 is a module that we do very commonly repair here at PDF Supply. We offer exchange programs, new and remanufactured units, and same-day shipping. So if that's something that you need or interests you, please see us at pdfsupply.com. Thank you.